Hi everyone. It's Tuesday afternoon, which means that it's tea time, and it's 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is Tuesday Tea Time Tuesday. And I want to first say that my page now has 500 followers, and I couldn't be happier. It's really true that when people reach out to you through social media, it really, really does mean something. And for our little group and this little community that has reached over 500 people, it means the world to me because it encourages me to go on and to do more things. My name is Barbara Moore, and I have COPD. I was diagnosed in 2015. I had my first exacerbation in 2016, and I spent many months of that year in hospital trying to recuperate. I was lucky enough to get through it with the grace of God and a fabulous family. So if you would like to read about my symptoms and what happened to me, please do feel free to go to my blog. At the top of my homepage, you'll see my story, and my story is told in 3 parts. And those are the 3 parts of 2016 that has got us to where we are today. Hi, Sandra. Thank you for joining us. So it's the story of how I got here, and people are pretty surprised when they hear what my story was and what I went through. So I am thrilled that we have 500 followers now. It makes it very good because people are watching in the replays. They're taking in your advice to them, and it is a great place to exchange ideas. I want you to know that this is an open forum, and so it is not a private group at all. Hi, Gwen. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Carol. So it is not a private forum. It is open for anybody. Anybody can see it. It's an open page. And we have 500 followers now, so I am thrilled. So last week, I did a post on Friends, and I had put a question note to everybody on Facebook. What would you like to talk about on tea time? And several people popped in and said friendships. Hi, Merlin. And I was devastated because I got to tell you what my story is. I come from an Irish Catholic family, and every one of my mother's brothers and sister had like 8 kids. My dad came from a very large family. Hi, Heather. And so in our family, we were encouraged to stick together as a family. And that didn't leave a lot of time to develop friendships. And as I was a child, I didn't develop a lot of friendships because I had cousins to play with. They were more important. And anyways, we all knew each other and we all understood each other. And it was just a fabulous life, right? Well, Carol hit it on the head when she said sometimes that we lose people through death. And I did lose my closest cousin in 2016. She was a floor below me. And she passed away from polycystic kidneys. And I was devastated at the loss. It was, we were far too young, and we didn't think that she would be going that soon, and she had been through hell and back. So for me, it was always cousins were where it was at. And I think some of you can probably relate to this, right? Hi, Susan. Some of you can probably relate to this, but in our family, it was always family. We were very close family. And anytime that anything happened in our family, you just had to make one phone call, and one phone call would be suffice to get everybody going and everybody moving, and everybody knew what they had to do. So when I heard these stories about people losing their friends, I was like devastated, right? Devastated. First of all, I can't believe the audacity of people to just walk away and not have any care about and feel any obligation, right? And I don't keep up with friends very well. So when I lose a friend, or when some people you just can't be bothered with, so I really don't care because I've got family to back me up, right? But this is not true for a lot of people. So when we have chronic illness, chronic and invisible, unpredictable illness, it is very, very hard for people. Trigger that with going through depression at being diagnosed. Exactly, Carol. That's exactly what it was like. My big fat Greek wedding. Susan Hatcher, you can attest to that. It was exactly like that. And everybody knew everything, and everybody knew everybody's secrets, and it was all cool, anyways. So one of the first things that we develop is depression, and people don't want to be around somebody who's depressed. I got to tell you this, right? And we suffer grief for our old life. And that's pretty common, right? We kind of get to the point pretty fast, because when you can't breathe, nothing else is a big deal. There's no other big deal. There is nothing else. When you can't breathe, you get to the point very quickly. And you know that your life is not going back to what it used to be. We all feel a sense of guilt. We know that for 99% of us, we know that we didn't listen when we were told not to stop smoking. We continued to smoke the same as our mothers did. And we ignored the warnings that were put out to us. Now, they weren't as strong in those days as they are now, but the warnings were there. So I feel a bit of guilt that I didn't do what I should have done, right? We feel a sense of stress at having to leave stuff. I had to leave my job, and I loved my job, and I can't believe that I had to leave my job. Like, it was the biggest problem for me. Absolutely biggest problem. And you could ask anybody about that. And then, of course, I started to develop anxiety because I couldn't breathe. Because, when you can't breathe, it's really tough, right? So this brings us to a state of loneliness and isolation, and our world becomes smaller. So let's talk about, how do we turn this around? If you are a social person, hi Wendy, nice of you to join us today. Hi Jackie. If you're a social person, where do you go now to find friends? So in last week's blog, we talked about going to senior centers. I don't know if they have them in the States. I know that in Canada we have a lot of them. You would meet a lot of, and we are seniors now, right? Most of us are 60 or over. Most people are defined as being a senior when they're 55. So most of us are seniors, whether we like it or not, right? So senior centers, library programs. Is there any library programs available to anybody? Has anybody ever looked into library programs? Because I know in our area, we have one that is, unfortunately, Tuesdays at 3:00, but it's for gentle stretches and that, right? So it's pretty cool, and it's done by a physiotherapist, right? Hi, Jackie. So senior centers, libraries. Where else do you go to find people? Where do we go to find new friends? Like, everybody has to have something. Has anybody thought about joining a book club? We've got to turn this around. I was devastated at what some of the comments that people left me last week. I was just heartbroken. My heart was breaking for them. And I thought, how do you do this when you don't have any support? How do you manage? I just don't understand, right? Yeah, it's hard, Sandra. You don't drive. How do you manage, right? It would be fine if you're in California, and if you're in New York, where they have all kinds of cabs, but I don't think they have that many down there. And cabs are very expensive, right? In our city in Hamilton, Ontario, we have what's called a DARTS program. And this is kind of it's a bus service that if you're disabled, you qualify for it, and it costs the same as a bus ticket, and they'll take you door to door, and it's absolutely fabulous. Well, Sandra, sometimes you have to go and see. I called a lot of senior centers when I was starting my group, and a lot of them didn't call me back either. So you have to decide whether you're going to be persistent with that or not, right? And sometimes you just have to go in and show up and say, you know, what's going on today. Monday would be a great day to do that, right? What do you think about online groups? Because most of us belong to online groups, right? You know, Facebook is a plethora of online groups. And whatever you want support for, or whatever you're in need of, you can find a Facebook group for it online, right? So what do we think about online friends? Are these real friends? Just throwing it out there, just asking, are these real friends? Because I feel that they are, and I feel that if a couple of mornings I've got up and thought, I don't know if this is normal or not, and so I get on Facebook to my friends and go to the right group and ask the right question, and everybody has always jumped in line to help me. So Facebook groups are great. I don't have a problem with them at all. So let's talk about getting out of our world. Our world becomes smaller. We're more isolated. We can't help that. It's the way of chronic illness. And sometimes you're right, Carol. Joining groups other than COPD groups might be nice, right? Sometimes you just have to walk away from it a little bit, right? Sometimes you just have enough of it. You just say, like, okay, like, I'm done with this, right? I don't want to stop. I don't want to keep talking about this. This consumes my whole life. I don't want to do that anymore. Let's get into something that's a little bit different, right? And I think Jackie, you had some free stuff. You joined some groups like for free stuff and that, eh? So one of the ways, one of the list of ways that we can kind of get past, you know, our loneliness and isolation is we have to find new friends. And it happens, right? So I want you to think about, you know, when you became a mother or a father, or when you got a dog or something new came into your life that was going to like consume you. If you think back on it, and it didn't have anything to do with chronic illness, people walked away from you because of it. If you became a mother and other people didn't have children or think about it or want children, you lost some friends. You might not realize it. You might not have cared because of what you gained, but you lost some friends. When you get married, you lose some friends. When you change jobs, you lose some friends. People say I'm always going to be there for you, but I got to tell you that it never has actually worked for me, that people were actually there for me. Once we're out of the company, it's really, you know, for me, it was always awkward to be around people who were still working at that company. And, you know, I was usually bitter. And so, you know, I didn't want to badmouth the company because they still work there, and I didn't want to make a fool of them. So, you know, you lost friends, right? So one of the ways to gain some friends, you know, is to talk to people. Talk to people wherever you are. If you're an online person, you talk to people online. If you're an in-person, you know, talk to people at the grocery store, talk to people at the library, talk to people at the drugstore, right? Just talk to people. Sometimes you can really make somebody's day by saying something like, "Do you have the most beautiful eyes?" Or, "I love that outfit you're wearing. It looks great on you." And, you know, so what if they don't like it? Well, you know, so what? They don't like it. But I talk to people all the time, and I do that to people. And I make a point of not only talking to people, but commenting, eh? Would you be ready for it now, Carol? So Carol says, when I first joined my COPD team, a group of local women had a luncheon together every week. I wasn't ready for it back then, but I wonder if you're ready for it now, Carol. You know, one of the things that we talked about last week was getting away from my caregiver for a few minutes and letting him have a life as well as myself have a life, kind of, you know, because we seem to be, since he's retired, Thank you, Heather. That means the world to me. You made my stay at St. Joe's so much easier. I couldn't have gotten it through it without you. Yeah, just kind of getting away. I'd like to kind of go out without my my spouse, right? But I don't drive anymore, and my daughter won't let me drive. I mean, I could drive. I still have a license and that. But by the time I get in with my oxygen, I have to get that all regulated and everything. And she's afraid that I would get short of breath, or what if something happened? What if somebody hit me? I have oxygen, blah blah blah. So, anyways, I guess if I really wanted to, I could, but I don't know if I. But anyways, we have this thing called darts, and they take us for a bus ticket. It's easy. So talk to people. One of the things that I do with friends, past colleagues, and the ones that I have chosen to stay in touch with, is I ask them to come and visit me. So, you know, I worked at a college, and my daughter works at that college, and my husband went to that college. He was a student there. So everybody knows my immediate family anyways, right? So it's not a big deal if I want to invite a colleague, and we'll have some supper. And sometimes it'll take me all day to do it, but I'll do it. And, you know, it's my way of saying thank you for just being a friend and for sticking around. And, you know, it really, really sucks. And I really like to feel normal sometimes with some normal people, right? Sometimes we have to stop saying no and say, you know what, I'll try. And with the option that I always leave it with the option of, if I have to cancel, I will cancel, you know, probably very close to the venue. But as long as you understand that, for now, I'll say yes. Because who knows, right? It might end up being a fabulous day for you, right? And if you do the proper, resting periods the day before, probably if you could potentially make it a good day. Get out of your house. Join some kind of a group. Go to Chapters or Indigo, wherever you have a bookstore. They'll always have a book club. Go to library. Go to. Did anybody look for a support group in their area? Anybody at all think about a support group? You know, I run an online support group. No, I'm sorry. I run an in-person support group through Ontario Lung, and this Thursday is our meeting. Anybody is welcome to come. Anybody who's in the area, and if you're ever in the area, please let me know, and I will give you the directions and everything on how to get there. Everybody is welcome. It is an open meeting for people who suffer from lung disease. So, I got to tell you that it was pretty easy to start this group. There really isn't a whole lot of mandate because there's no money exchanged. We don't charge for the group. We don't bring anything for the group except ourselves. We don't provide beverages. We don't do anything like that. So it's really just finding a venue. And for a lot of us, it's the Legion. They will give... the Legion will give you a free room. Why don't you start a support group in your area? And, you know, our support group, we get 4 to 5 people a month. And we're fine with it, right? And I agree, Jackie, it's summertime, it's really tough, but these things don't happen overnight either. So some thought process that goes into them, you know, would probably make it come to fruition in the fall time, right? And Carol, you're right. People have busy lives, and so out of sight and out of mind. But sometimes it's nice for you to reach out to people too, right? There's no reason why you can't reach out to somebody. You know, give them a text, and nobody minds a text. You can thumb through it and delete it if you don't want to talk to the person. There's no commitment to you on your end. There's no commitment to them on their end. But sometimes, you know, you might make somebody's day just by getting in touch with them. Join a support group or join a class. Did anybody else go back to 52 Things to Do for free? Nobody went back and did that, right? Nobody found a hobby and did something for free last week, right? I know we're all into exercising. I know we got to do it. I get it. I hear it every day. I'm like, yeah. And, you know, I really feel guilty if I don't do my exercise. I really, really do. And since I've been on the trilogy, I've just felt like crap. I have just felt like crap. So I came off of that, I think, the beginning of May. And I've had one infection after another. If it's not chest infection, I got this thing on my neck that's infected and ear infection, and it's just one thing after another. So I've pretty much been on antibiotics since May, and I'm not liking it at all. It's not making me feel good. How about pets? Do you guys have a pet? Because you know what the great thing about pets are? I know, Carol, you can't take on more hobbies. You're busy enough. So do you have pets? Because, you know, the thing about, and I put this up on my blog last week, I think, or on my page last week or something, and they said, you know, if you have chronic illness, should you get a pet? And they said, definitely, yes, you should. And one of the best reasons for having a pet is that they listen to you and they don't talk back. Unless you have a shepherd. If you have a shepherd, they talk back all the time, because always the noise in the pack is from the shepherds. But if you have a normal dog, usually they'll listen to you and they won't say too much about it, right? And by the way, I believe that online friends are real friends. As long as people aren't asking you for, to give them stuff for free and online stuff like that, right? Heather, honest to God, I feel like I'm just dragging. I feel like I felt, if anybody has ever had beta blockers, I feel like I did when I was on beta blockers. And they had to finally take me off of them because they could not prove that there was anything wrong with my heart. Now, we know that I'm in heart failure, but that's something different, and beta blockers aren't helping that. So I can't tell you how crappy I feel. I absolutely feel crappy. Anyways, please, guys, try to work hard to keep your mind and body healthy. If we look at the whole person, we look at the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. We have to work very, very hard to keep these. And because we have chronic illness, we have to work a little bit harder. But come on, you survived this chronic illness. That's why you're here today. And you can survive this if you just go a little bit further. It is very lonely. I had a family member who did walk away from me. And so I do know that sense of loneliness. And the problem is that you will probably never know why people do it. And you will probably never, ever, ever have an explanation for it. But one thing I got to tell you is this. When a person walks away from you, it's usually not your fault. And whatever they think about you, it is none of your business. So always keep this in mind. We have to go on and we have to live this life. This is what we're stuck with. So we may as well do it in the best way that we possibly can. Work hard on keeping your mind and body healthy. So did I tell you that my page has 500 followers? I'm absolutely tickled with it. Actually 503 now, but you know, I don't want to brag about it, right? My videos are up on YouTube. If anybody's in YouTube, go to Catch Your Breath 60, and I would really love to have some followers there. I'm asking you to follow me on YouTube. This fall I'll be working on getting some new videos up, and I may be asking some questions from you guys and putting new stuff up, see what you're looking for. So I had a member who asked me, one of the followers of this page, she said, how do you stop your nose from running when you're on O2 and how do you keep your nose from running, and how do you deal with a 50-foot hose? Anybody have any ideas on how to stop your nose from running? Does anybody take anything to dry up the mucus? Does anybody take Mucinex? Okay, so I'm going to leave that question out with you, and I'm hoping that you people will comment. Saline nose spray. Oh, that's the thing that my husband got this weekend called Oh, I was going to call it something else, but it sounds like it's almost like a sex toy, but it's not. It's Navage, I think it is. We put saline up your nose because he has sinus problems. So NAC, is that what you take for it? I have some of that, but I'm not. So I took it because they said this was really good, but I don't have a lot of mucus, so I don't need a lot of drying up. But those are two really good. And I guess the 50-foot hose you just have to put up with, right? So one of the things that I did get for my tubing that would help you is called a swivel connector. And your oxygen supplier can give you one of these. Mine gives them to me free. I don't know how it goes in other places. But it stops your cord from getting all tangled up. So they're pretty cool, right? And so when I'm just in the house, I can shorten the tubing. And when I go outside, I just figured out if I add 50 feet to it, I can go outside with my tubing and I don't have to take a canister. Yay! So that was my big thing that I learned last week, right? So did everybody see Hunter's haircut? He's such adorable. He's so adorable. So one last thing before we go off. Well, I have a couple of things before we go off, but somebody got a hold of me through email and said that her mother just passed away and that she had supplies. She is from Pasadena, California. If anybody is interested in me cooking you two up, let me know at catchyourbreath60@gmail.com and I will hook you up. I don't know about that. I don't know how people... Hi, Mary. I don't know how people feel about that. For us from Pasadena, California, the shipping would be too far, so it's no good for people up here. But I know that there's people all over the world from here, right? So if anybody's interested in free supplies, she said she had puffers and she had tubing and she had all kinds of stuff so that hadn't been opened. So anyways, okay. Yep. CatchyourBreath60 at catchyourBreath60@gmail.com and I will hook you up. She was quite adamant about getting a hold of people, and you know what? I forgot to ask last week, so here we are again, right? Please follow me. I am on Facebook. I am on Twitter. I don't do too much with Twitter, but I repost a lot of stuff, you know, for chronic illness stuff. I'm on Instagram. Kind of fairly busy on Instagram, but I don't know. I got 1,400 followers on Instagram, but I don't really think it does me much good. Although Mary found me there, so it kind of keeps. There's a couple of us with COPD, right? I have a YouTube channel, and I'm putting these YouTube videos on every week, and I have a blog at Catch Your Breath 60. And we do tea time every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I can't tell you how much I enjoy that everybody comes on today. And people are really starting to talk about it. And they're starting to tell their friends about it. So it's really, really good. And I really enjoy it. So if you need to get a hold of me, you know where to find me. Otherwise, I'm busy on accounting stuff for the rest of the week. So I'm going to be really, really quiet. And I want everybody to have a fabulous, fabulous week. It's going to be really, really hot out there, so go to Pinterest. Oh, I'm on Pinterest too. Go to my Pinterest board about staying hydrated and everything, right? Thank you so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it, and I hope everybody has a fabulous week. That's it today for Tea Time Tuesday.